What's going on, guys? Tyler here with Unbox Techie, back with another Smart Home Saturday video. Today I'm going over a smart home automation that I've been using for the past little bit, and it is very helpful. It is very practical, it's very easy to set up, and it's simple to use. Let's go ahead and jump into today's video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Please consider smashing that nice red looking subscribe button. I have a goal here in 2021 to get to 1,000 subscribers as fast as I possibly can. So you guys hitting that nice red looking subscribe button really motivates me, helps me achieve my goals, and would really go a long way. So thank you so much for doing that. Please consider doing it if you are new. Now, if you guys missed last episode of Smart Home Saturdays, you can actually click the card up above and check that out. It was all about 5 devices that are very low in price, but to get you started on your smart home journey. There are lots of different devices, so you'll want to check out that video, but the one we're talking about today is smart lights. Now, smart lights are awesome because they have so many different functions, but one of the functions that we're going to be talking about today is being able to control their state, their on or off state, over the Wi-Fi network. Now, when you get that capability of controlling their state, turning them on and off over Wi-Fi or over the internet basically, and you combine that with the GPS technology built into your phone, you can make an amazing automation. Now, what I'm talking about is the automation of arriving home and your lights turn on as you walk in the door. Yes, how cool would that be if you went off to work or you went out with your friends or something like that, your lights are turned off when you leave the house and you come home and they turn on as soon as you get home. And when you walk in the door, there is illuminated light all throughout your home. How cool would that be? Now, that's what we're actually going to do today, and there are 2 different methods of doing it. The first will be using Apple Homekit, and the second method will be using other devices and other systems. Depending on which apps or devices you have, you might have to try the 2 to see which one works best for you. Now, let's go ahead and actually jump into my phone screen here, and you can see kind of what I'm doing here on my phone. But I have the Apple Home app already brought up and ready to go. Now, I'm going to assume that you've already set up your accessories, that your scenes are already created if you want to activate scenes. Everything's kind of ready to go and connected to the Apple Home app. Now, once you have that all set up, what we're going to do is actually go to the 3rd option down below in the toolbar, which says automation. And once we click that, we're actually going to hit create new automation. Or if you've created other automations, there will be a little plus sign at the top right corner. Go ahead and hit that. Now, what we're setting up right here is a trigger. A trigger is basically an action that happens, and when the action happens, a series of actions follow it using this automation system. A trigger and then all the actions after it. So what we're going to do is set up this trigger for when somebody arrives to a location. So I'm just going to simply hit people arrived, the very first one there. Now we have 2 different options here. The first is the location. Where is the person arriving? For this example, I'm going to leave mine set to home. If your home address is not set up, you can actually manually type it in right there. If you're applying this automation maybe to your work, you can go ahead and actually put in your work address in this location. And the second option is time. When do we want this actual automation to run? We want to give it some specific boundaries so it's not running, say, during the day and I'm coming home from maybe a breakfast with my friends and I come home and the lights are now turning on when it's already light outside and my house is already illuminated with the outdoor lights, but I also have lights turned on. So what we want to do is actually limit it, give it some boundaries so it's not running all the time every day. So what we're going to do is actually click time, and you can see there are a few different options here, but first we're going to go ahead and click at night. Now, at night refers to a specific time period, and if you want to see that specific time period, you can actually hit this little eye to the right of it and it will show you that specific time period. Now, by default, that time period is set up between sunset and sunrise, meaning sun sets and it's dark as soon as it's dark all the way up until the sun rises before it gets light. So all that time of darkness is considered at night. What I'm going to do is I say, oh, it gets a little bit dark before sunset. So I'm going to set it to 15 minutes before sunset, right? And I'm going to say it's still a little bit dark, right at sunrise. So I'm going to say 15 minutes after sunrise. So I've got a little bit of a 15-minute cushion on either side of the sunset and the sunrise. And I'm going to go ahead and hit done up at the top. and hit next to go to the next step. Now, this next step is the accessories. These are going to be the accessories that we actually control with this automation. Now, if you want to set a scene, maybe when you come home, you have this fancy scene that you've already predefined and you want that to be activated and turned on when you arrive home, you can go ahead and select a scene up at the top here. But for this example, I'm simply going to turn on the bed light and turn on the window light. And by selecting both of those, you can see they are ready to go. Now, if you're an advanced user, if you've done many automations, if you know how to use Apple shortcuts and the programming that goes into programming those shortcuts using that app, you can actually convert this straight over to a shortcut from right here. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to assume most of you are probably not as advanced users yet. So we're just going to go ahead and click next at the top right corner. All right, and here we go. We have an overview of the automation that we've created. You can see that when we arrive home, only from 15 minutes before sunset to 15 minutes after sunrise, this automation will be triggered. And what are the actions that this automation will trigger? Well, that is turning on the bed light and the window light and turning them to 100%. Now, if everything looks correct so far, we can go ahead and test this automation. And basically hitting this button is simulating if that trigger was triggered. So basically the results should happen. So in this case, if I hit this button, my two lights should turn on. Now there is one more option that we have the opportunity to add, and that is when do we want these lights to actually turn off. You can, by default it's set to never, but you can set up as long as you would like them basically to stay on for. Maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, even just like 2 to 3 minutes. You can set whatever you want there. However, for this example, we're just going to leave them on indefinitely because we don't really know how long we'll be in the home or in that room or anything like that. So we're just going to have them turn on when we arrive and we'll turn them off manually whenever. So now that we've put that turn off time back to never, we are all done with the automation. We'll hit done at the top right corner and you can see here is your automation that is created. Now stay tuned, we're actually going to talk about another service that will allow you to do this when you're using other accessories that don't link necessarily with the Apple Homekit, or maybe you're using a whole different infrastructure with Google and Google Home or things like that. Most likely this second option will work for you. Now the service is actually called IF, and IF stands for if this then that, which is a phrase commonly used by programmers that are creating kind of these automations. It's basically saying if this trigger happens, then that action follows. Now the great thing about IF is IF integrates with so many different services. They integrate with my Philips Hue lights, they integrate with Apple products, they integrate with Google products, they integrate with a wide variety of different products and services. And also if you're using kind of like generic brand, maybe like not super top of the line, high quality Amazon light bulbs or things like that, there's a chance it might integrate with the app that is set up to control those lights. A common one of those apps is called Smart Life, and actually I have a few outlets that connect to the Smart Life app, and they're easily controlled through IF using the Smart Life login. So if you have some accessories that don't work well with Apple, or maybe you have an Android phone, maybe you have different services, check and see if IF integrates with them. All right, enough about IF. Let's go ahead and create the automation. Basically, at the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to hit that create button, and you can see we're starting an if this then that statement. So if this, and the trigger we're going to set, the if this part is going to be a location. You can simply search here and put in location, and it will come up with the location trigger. And when I click that, you can see there's 3 different options here. You enter or exit an area, you exit an area, or you enter an area. We're going to select you enter an area. So go ahead and put in the address that you want of your home or your work location, wherever you're setting up this automation to be triggered. So basically, if you arrive home, you'll put in your home address. Now, I just went ahead and put in Las Vegas here, but you can see this big black ring here, and this big black ring is whenever your GPS enters those boundaries, this trigger will happen for the automation. It's called a geofence, but basically they're just boundaries watching for your GPS to enter the area. Now I've put in Las Vegas, but you can see this is a very broad area. So what I'm going to do is actually zoom in. And as I zoom in to a specific location, you can see this geofence, this circle gets a lot tighter. Now we're covering, just a handful of houses right in here, as opposed to a huge wide area of a city. So you'll want to be very precise and kind of zoom it way in to get a precise location. All right, once we found our precise location, we'll just hit save at the top right corner, and we'll hit create trigger at the very bottom with that button. Now what we're going to do is push then that, and we're going to add an action. Now this is where you're actually going to select the service that you have linked to your lights. For me, it's going to be Philips Hue, so I can simply just type that up in the search bar there, and you can see Philips Hue pops right up there. But like I said, Smart Life is a very common kind of third party that integrates with a lot of generic brand Amazon lights and switches and things like that. There's a lot of other ones. Maybe your lights are specifically brand named and have their own app. You can check and see if it integrates with them just by searching for them here in this search bar. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Philips Hue here. Now these options will be different based on which brand of lights or accessories you're using, but you can see here I have a ton of different options here with these Philips Hue lights. I'm not going to select the toggle lights on or off because that will turn them to the opposite state of what they're currently set. If my lights by some chance were turned on, it would turn them off. So that's not what we want. We want to turn lights on, so that at the very bottom it will say turn on lights. We'll hit that. We'll select the lights we want. For this demo, I'll just go ahead and leave it set to all here, but we can hit create action, and this will create our automation all ready to go. As long as you're running the app here on your phone and you have it installed there and you've allowed GPS access, and it will be all set up to go. And when your phone enters the boundaries, it should trigger on your lights. Now guys, I am releasing Smart Home Saturday videos every single Saturday. So automations, smart home devices, smart home accessories, smart home ideas, they're all going to be in the Smart Home Saturdays series. So I highly recommend you smash that nice red looking subscribe button. Join the family. Like I said, I have that goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube as fast as I possibly can. So you can help me by hitting that nice red looking subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. It would mean so much to me. And guys, if you missed last week's episode, be sure and check that card up top, or you can check out here on my channel if that card is not there. It will be the last video, the Smart Home Saturdays, all about those 5 devices to help a beginner get started in 2021 with the smart home lifestyle. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.